That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
Oh, I see our internet's doing great. Right off the bat, we're ripping her with one bar, boys. What's going on, folks? Welcome to the One Cast Fishing Friday Live. We are hanging out. Sorry, I'm pulling all this stuff up on my phone, trying to get things ready. Totally unprepared because we were sitting here talking about fishing and whatever else it was we were talking about. But welcome to Fishing Friday Live. Super happy to have y'all here. What's going on, David? Glad to see you.
What's up, David?
David getting that Cortland line spun up on his Cash and Icon spinning rod right now.
Yeah, they don't sponsor a show though, so we're not going to give them any. No, I'm just kidding. But before we do get into it, as always, make sure you head to onecastfishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast at checkout. All one word, save you some money. Snagless jigs, long neck hooks, weedless Ned, soft plastics. David Fuchs was down here last week, caught his very first fish, jig fish, on a snagless jig.
Yeah, David, and they told me that was a Wednesday, right, Trey?
Yep.
Yeah, you told me that during our episode, so I was it's like you guys kept that a secret from me. And then he showed me the picture. That's awesome.
There was a release date on it.
Yeah, that's I love. Oh, as I said in the episode, I not being able to fish as much as I used to. I love living vicariously through everyone on the fish catches. So I was glad to see that. What's up, Mike?
What's up, Michael Nadeau? Oh, Michael Nadeau.
Oh, nay, dudes.
Oh, nay, dudes. What's going on, Mike? But yeah, CarolinaWatersNC.com. Mike's one of their ambassadors, as are some of us and the show. So you can head to CarolinaWatersNC.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word at checkout. Save you some coin on the UPF gear, hats. Trey was going to put one on, and then it looks like he abandoned his plan and decided to stick with the Heroes Harvest one that's glued to his head and smells like doo-doo. But make sure you head there, get you some hats that don't smell like doo-doo, all the UPF wear, the casual wear, all of that good stuff. And while you're getting your stuff to protect your body, make sure you head to HobieEyewear.com. But use our link. I'm going to post up our link tree. Click on the Hobie link in there. You'll save 15% off of your order there. Free shipping. And get you some Hobie eyewear, the floating frames. We've talked about them at length, how much of a difference they make, especially the Sightmaster Pluses in low light, all of that good stuff. So make sure you check out that. Use the link. I don't have it copied and pasted, so I'm putting our link tree in there. So you can go to that link, and it'll give you all of our affiliates. It'll take you to their places where you can get the hook up on some sweet gear and save some coin.
Absolutely. Ben just ran into him tonight. Actually, I don't think you met Eric personally yet, have you?
What's up, Jeff?
No, I just saw his truck.
Yeah, but Ben ran into Eric Schwinn's truck. Eric Schwinn's a good buddy of ours. He's a partner with Mossy Oak Properties. If you guys are in the Sandhills region here in North Carolina, he's the provider. He services everybody here for Mossy Oak Properties. So if you're in the market for a piece of land or a home or anything like that, looking to get away from that concrete jungle, you can shoot Eric a text at 936-494-9686 or shoot him an email at eschwind@mossyoakproperties.com. He is active duty, so we are a huge we're supporters of the veteran community. And so Eric is going to do his best to take care of you veterans out there and anybody that crosses his path. So give him a holler.
Looks like we have some video freezing stuff going on. Don't worry, we're still here. If it froze on you, reset your thing. It's working. I got it pulled up so I can keep an eye on it. As per usual, we got a storm coming on a Friday night. The internet gets a bit wonky. But David had a blast down there. Thank you all for a great time. We had a blast too, man. Still super honored that you would come down from New Jersey and hang out with us for a couple days and fish old Karen Harris and
our local ponds.
Jordan and got to catch some fish and had some good fellowship, and hanging out with you and Christine was awesome. So appreciate you guys coming down. What's going on, Jeff? Hope you're doing good. James last weekend, good times. Yeah, I heard it was a little bit of a struggle out there at Old Lake James, but I think that's always a fun tournament. I wish I could have made it, but just too much going on to be able to travel over there with new job and everything.
I think even if it's a bad tournament on Lake James, you're surrounded by beautiful terrain.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, clear water, beautiful terrain. You're up in the mountains in Western North Carolina. Like man, I don't care if I catch a fish, to be honest with you. Now, if you're in a tournament, I get it, but whatever. Kick back and relax. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So last fishing Friday, Garhole, Mike. Old Lake James, the Garhole.
Yeah.
I won both days some big fish. It wasn't good for you then, Jeff. Maybe not as good for some other folks, but it sounds like you had it figured out. We talked last week. We were going to go to Jordan on Saturday, and we went out there and I smashed them. I know Trey and them caught a bunch of fish. Trey jumped in the boat with David and his wife, Chelsea. My wife and I jumped in our boat and we wrecked them. It was a ton of fun, all on top water. No giants. I think 18. I had 18 pounds from a best 5, so it was pretty good. Had a couple 4.5 pounders, post spawn fish. Again, I'm not going to say the top water bait just yet because I'm not ready to put it out there in the world, but it's a top water bait and had a ton of fun with it. I think you could probably throw just about any top water bait. They're just getting fat right now. The bluegill spawn's about to kick off pretty heavy. They were all starting to move up, and then fish were in there just chomping and recovering.
Have you guys seen any bluegill beds yet on your side imaging? Or
I haven't
even looked because I've just been fishing because everything is shallow.
I have
dude.
seen them.
Brim. I've seen them with my eyes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the bluegill, the panfish are shallow, the shad are shallow, the carp are shallow, the bass are up there eating all of them. And so I haven't even really, I never even turned my front graph on last Saturday. Never even turned it on. Not for map. You didn't need it. I was just running bank and catching fish. So
let's catch up real quick.
What's
Mike
up, Ben
Eckert,
Pete and that guy?
Hey, so good luck on Table Rock, man. I've never been there before. What part of Jordan? The southern part. Let's leave it at that.
No, southern part. Jeff, I'll shoot you a message. I'll tell you what.
What's up, Rodney? Good evening. Mike Johns, congratulations on your tournament finish at Lake Chickamauga, man. Congratulations. Even though you want to put me as that guy, I'm going to be the better man, the bigger man, and say congratulations to you, Jeff Horner.
I'll shoot you a message, Jeff. I'll let you know what I was on.
Howdy, Christine.
Should still work, so I think that pattern will hold for a couple weeks anyway. I'm not fishing this weekend, I don't think, because the weather looks like doo-doo.
Yep.
Chelsea's got a kayak tournament on Falls.
Yep.
Tomorrow. She's going to put in at the Eno River launch. So she's going way up where there's not going to be a whole bunch of bass boats because not everybody knows how to run safely up there. So it doesn't get as bad.
That's west of the interstate bridge, right?
Yeah.
She might catch some giants.
Yeah. I talked to Seth today and he said the bite hasn't been super good up there, but they've been catching some fish. So I got a little bit of info for her but I'm not giving it to her because every time I've tried to help her, what she wanted to do has won, and what I tell her to do has not been good. So I'm going to let her go do her thing. I will say her thing is exactly what he told me to do. So she had the right plan. So she's going to go up there and have some fun. Hopefully.
So a beetle spin
yep.
on braid,
ultralight with 65 pound braid.
It probably worked. Yeah, it probably worked.
And the best thing about getting up there, get out away from all those lake crazies that are going to be out there on Saturday because they're coming out already.
Oh, dude, let me tell you. So I was on the lake today. Mike Johns, what'd you say? I sell their waypoints for cheap.
He's trying to sell our waypoints.
Mike, you don't even know how to use your graph. So whatever. Mayfly hatch, fish popper on Falls. Yeah,
between the mayflies and the cicadas.
Yeah. So we got the cicadas. And if you guys are like tucked away in the woods, man, like it is almost unbearable. Like during the daytime, because the cicadas don't make a lot of noise during the night, but during the daytime, it is almost unbearable to the point where like my wife for the last 2 days, and another reason why we might be running into internet issues too, is they are putting new internet in down here. So they're doing a whole bunch a whole bunch of stuff. But anyhow,
we might have fiber here before too long.
We could,
and we won't know what to do with no internet issues.
I mean, internet's working.
It's working. Yeah. No, we're good. I'm not worried about it.
But yeah, the cicadas have been absolutely unbearable. My wife thought it was drilling. I was like, no, those are cicadas. And she was like, what do they even do? And it was funny because we were having a conversation about it before, but like they're a mouthless sex creature.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
Well, no, because we were talking about before.
RJ said you don't make a lot of noise at night either.
It's because I read that article and they get an STD.
Do they?
And it turns into a zombie.
Nice.
Yes, that. And then they also have like the strongest urination of like anything because all they do is basically suck in water or whatever and just constantly urinate it out.
Wow. So RJ, if I get an STD from a cicada, I guess I'll call you medic.
Medic.
RJ, man. Hey, we're
being PG-13. We didn't. We didn't say what I said off camera.
No, not at all.
And-
But yeah, cicadas are unbearable. The mayflies are going to hatch here soon. This is the time, like, depending on
Shad spawns. Still
shad
kicking.
spawns kicking.
Brim are pushing up and starting to make beds and spawn.
David,
bluegill, whatever you want to call them.
David
Panfish.
ended up catching a giant snapping turtle down here, but I can tell you right now, I was just telling Ben and Pete, snapping turtles are also up in the shallows, crushing the brim on the brim bed. So you're starting to I'm definitely seeing it down here. And if you guys are fishing your local bodies of water, especially here in North Carolina, like you're starting to see that spawn transition where, still some of your lake is spawning, but it's like very specific coves. And then the fish are moving around a lot. And so you can have some really tough days on the water, but
yeah.
I will tell you,
you can have some really good days.
You can have some really good days. The last 2 days I've been out and it was like 1 or 2 fish. Today I went out and caught a limit within like 2 hours. Right. So it just really depends on the area.
So, yeah. And I think Jordan was so good when we were there because we were getting that first wave that spawned that was coming out of that kind of right after they spawned funk, and they were just in there to eat.
Yep.
And I mean, I had one come, it was only like a 2-pounder, wasn't a big one, but it came completely out of the water on this top water bait. Missed it. I threw it back in there. It came up and blew up again and missed it. And then the third time it came up and ate it. So they were super aggressive.
That makes sense, right? Because when you and your dad were out there that day and they were all over.
They were all
That
over.
was
It was
about
2
10
weeks
days,
ago.
about 10 days before that. So they did their thing. They got little post-spawn blues, and now they're ready to feed up.
So yeah, Mike was calling me after, or did he call me? I don't know. Anyways, we were on the phone and we were talking about his tournament on Chick, and so I think I ended up catching bass number 3 and 4 while we were on the phone. So no, I am a good actor, Mike, though. I appreciate that compliment. So,
but yeah, so for those who don't know, everybody thinks the bass spawn and then they immediately move to those like tertiary and structure and just start eating, and they do not. There is a period. What's up, Larry Reed? What's up, fellas on the road? Gonna show them West Coast bass on one cast level. Let's get it, man.
Oh, that's what I like to hear.
But yeah, so there is a period, might be 5 days, might be 10. I don't know that there's really science. No, he's not previous comment. I'm sure there's some kind of science to it, but there is a period where they just kind of lay there and don't do anything. Sometimes you'll see those big females cruising in the shallows, and that's what they are. They're in that post spawn and they're just kind of there. They're trying not to burn a whole bunch of energy. They're just weird. And then
they've got to recuperate.
Then that light switch flips, and then they eat everything in sight for about 3 weeks. And they'll progressively work their ways back out to their summer areas that time of year. If the shad are, but the shad seem to be holding shallow a lot longer this year.
Yeah, they're definitely tucked in the backs of the coves right now.
And then there's little things like we got a little cold front, a little front coming starting Monday, which will drop the water temp a couple degrees with the rain and stuff. So that'll probably pick the shad spawn back up a little bit because it's kind of starting to peter up. Actually, I didn't even see a single shad spawning last weekend on Saturday when we were on Jordan. And the weekend before in our derby, I saw the most impressive shad spawn I've ever seen in my life. I need to put that picture up on our socials for y'all. It was unbelievable the amount of shad that were spawning. So it seems like they all kind of went up there, but they did their thing a little early too, because when my dad was here 10, 12 days ago, I saw him spawning on the bridge at 64. And I was like, there's no way those shad are spawning already. And then water temps and everything were there.
Yeah, well, when we went out that day to Harris, there was on the bridge.
So I mean,
that bridge.
they've already started a couple weeks ago. So they're kind of getting to the end of their spawn cycle. But next will be the gizzard, the big gizzard shad that'll spawn. So those little shad we see spawning are the thread fins. And then the adult gizzards are spawn, and they spawn very different. They like clay points and stuff like that when they spawn. That's actually how Milliken won the tournament down there on Toledo Bend when they were there, because the bass were done spawning, the thread fin were done, but he found where gizzards were spawning. We're catching them on a big glide bait and a big Texas rig or a big Carolina rig, stuff like that, crankbait. So you got to look for those bigger shad to start spawning next. And then the gills will spawn for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Well, the gills are spawn all summer
long.
long.
Yeah, they will. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, you'll find pockets all summer.
So talking about this time of the
Gizzard
year-
were starting to spawn in Tennessee. Yeah, I believe it.
Oh, and they got massive gizzard shad in Tennessee. So talking about this time of year, like this is where people get like really deterred, right? There's that period you talked about where the females or the bass in general are just really lethargic. My advice to anybody would be cover a lot of water.
Cover a lot of water.
Because you have every bass in your lake didn't spawn at the same time. And there's multiple phases going on right now. I think there's all 3 phases going on. We're really at the tail end of probably some fish sliding up, but they still will spawn sometimes in late May and in early June. But you just got to cover a lot of water and like pick those creeks apart.
Especially this time of year with the shad spawn.
Right.
Because if you get out earlier enough and you see the shad spawn there, okay, that's good. But if you're not out there earlier enough, or you're in a spot where you don't see it, the shad spawn is going to take place in the lake at different times.
Right.
So like for a couple periods, it may be the north, and then migrate. And so like if you don't get bit in a place, and like a lot of times this time of year, I may even run to like a completely different section of the lake.
Yes.
And just then try to find a shallow bite that way, because
better know where the shad spawn is if you're going to fish it in the first thing in the morning, because you only got about an hour.
Yeah,
exactly.
As soon as that sun gets above the trees, that's done. So
Jeff, downsizing your bait, it definitely helps.
Carp were spawning also, Alicon. So was that on
so
Harris?
tired of the carp, dude.
Channel cat spawn after the bass, and then downsizing baits. Yeah, downsizing definitely does help.
It definitely helps. But I was going to ask you guys, right, for the guys watching, and you guys please chime in with your comments. If you were to put 3 baits on your boat right now in this time of year, one for the morning and then the other 2 or 3 of them, what would they be? What would they be? Just top 3?
Right now?
Right now.
Top water.
Okay.
All right. So I'm probably going to use a popper style.
Okay.
Then I'll have some sort of jig on the flip around lay downs and all. And then it's either probably going to be a bladed jig or swim jig, depending on
the cover.
Really how slick the water,
yeah,
how calm the water is.
Okay.
So if it's super slick calm, I'll use a swim jig over a bladed jig. But
okay. What about you?
But I'm trying to cover water.
Sure.
I'm going to have a chatterbait on regardless, because I found they'll eat it in slick calm. I know a lot of guys don't have confidence in it, but I'll throw that anytime. And it's a good bait to cover water. This time of year, I'm a spinnerbait dude like Trey, but for some reason, I just really like a bladed jig this time of year. A top water. And then I'm probably going to have like a floating worm.
Yeah.
Weightless floating worm.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those cruising fish and stuff will just eat that stupid pink or methylate worm for no reason.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like anything. They just don't like it this time of year.
Yeah.
And you'll get a lot of fry garter still from these these are, and it's a good bait for the fry garters because it stays in the strike zone a little longer. A wacky rig would be another option, whichever you're more confident in.
Pink, like some of the best days I've had on Jordan this time of year has been like a pinkish, like green pumpkin pink.
Yep.
Senko.
Yeah.
Either wacky rig or Texas rig.
I like the old bubble gum floating worm.
Yeah, I threw that around today a lot. So yeah, I'm with you guys. It's going to be a top water bait, probably a popper. It's definitely going to be a wacky rig, right? Especially if it's not slick calm and I run across a bedding fish or something. And then this is the time of year where I will throw a bluegill pattern bladed jig. Like this is the time of year that I'll do it, right? Because that's what they're feeding on most likely. So if you got that top water, you can really hit that shad spawn. If the bass are there, bass are not always around the shad spawn. We all know that. And then a wacky rig because they eat it, right? And then a bladed jig. And then once we start getting into a little bit later in the spring, early summer, on those mornings that it's like piss and rain and it's nice warm rain, I'm gonna pick a spinnerbait back up, hands down.
So we got Trey was talking to us about that same thing: fish slow but cover a lot of water. Yeah, you got to fish fairly slow and cover a bunch of water. Spinnerbait, prop bait, and jig. Mike Johns loves that prop bait. That is a good one. Wake bait, jig, worms. Zach Scott said popper, Senko, and a small crankbait.
Yep.
Mikey, buzzbait, and a buzzbait. No, buzzbait, swim jig, bluegill pattern, and a wacky rig. Yep, good one.
So, David mentioned about fishing slow but covering a lot of water.
Some success in Yamatanuki. I need to make some brighter baits, bubblegum white or chartreuse. Yeah. Yep. This time of year, they really hate those that bubblegum color for some reason is just a staple for me in the spring. Once you see the first fish on the bed, till you don't see any more fish shallow, you can throw that and get bit.
That's when I transition from like a red, if I want like a early spring and all. You say red a lot, red crankbait.
Oh yeah,
red, the fire orange.
A tomato colored floating worm is really good too. And I caught several fish in the spawn off the bed with a floating worm. But
he said top jig, and now I had some success, and a Yamatanuki. Yamatanuki is a good one. That's like a poop bait to use John Cruise's
Bomba.
John Cruise's term, the poop baits. So it's a wonder where David heard that advice. Yeah.
So I wanted to cover that real quick, and you guys chime in on this. Cover a lot of water, but fish slow. What I mean by that is you got to pick high percentage areas to cover very thoroughly. So if it's a laydown and then there's 25 yards and there's another laydown and there's no rocks or anything in between those laydowns, I'm going to pick those laydowns apart very slowly, but I'm not going to fish in between them. I could miss fish, totally could miss fish, right? But I'm going to hit high percentage areas. And I just wanted to clarify that for David and Christine. I'm not going to fish dead bank.
Yeah.
So
you know what I mean?
I used to not, but I've caught enough fish on dead bank that I don't necessarily pass through it. So in that scenario, yeah, I'll pick apart the laydowns of the bush or the dock. And then I usually to have my trolling motor on pretty high, and I'll just, I'll pick up a moving bait and just cover it in the hopes that there's one there.
Right.
Because you don't know, there's stumps and
sure
rocks and stuff down there. But there's been so many times that, especially when I'm throwing a crankbait or something, that I move away from that lay down and then I pick one up.
Yeah.
And it's happened a couple times, and it turned me onto a pattern.
Yeah. I mean, that's why your mapping is so important, right? Like as you're going down the bank, you're paying attention to the contour lines. You're identifying if you're going into a small stump field, whatever. But if there's a huge gap, you're right. I'm not gonna drag a jig for 25 yards. I'm gonna pick a chatterbait up, or I'm gonna pick a spinner or crankbait, and I'm gonna burn that through there, and then I'm gonna pick apart laydowns, right? And again, it's all situational. It's, cloud cover has a lot to do with it. Wind, barometric pressure, all those things. Because if it's a bright bluebird sky day, those fish most likely should be tucked up underneath like laydowns and stuff like that.
And if you get a pattern figured out, so you're flipping laydowns, and that's where all your fish is coming from, and you've done several of those in betweens, or same thing with a dog pattern. You're catching them off the docks. They're not in between. Because like at Tilletry, a lot of times they'll be in between the docks and the grass.
Grass,
right in that grass, and
that's not dead bank.
Yeah,
dead bank is like Jordan when you get slick mud bottom and there's nothing but between two laydowns, but slick mud bottom, not even a rock or a pebble.
David caught his bass, his first jig bass, throwing what looked like dead bank, but when he popped it over a small rock or a stump, I don't know what it was, that's when he got bit. Right. So it looked like it. So you're absolutely right. Like you wouldn't have been able to tell by mapping, or unless you were scanning it with sonar, you're forward facing or something, you wouldn't have been able to tell. So that was a good move throwing that jig up there, David.
Yeah. I don't fish that dead bank either. I don't even typically throw a chatterbait or anything through it. You'll waste a lot of time. I mean, it's seconds, but it's a lot of time fishing unproductive water, and one bite here and there isn't worth it to me, especially if I'm getting bit on laydowns. I'm not going to waste my time to maybe catch a 14-incher. I've never caught a big fish in dead water. I'm sure it can happen.
Oh, I've seen it happen.
I've never caught a big fish in dead water.
I've done it.
It was a rock.
So I'm not going to waste my time on that.
Once you have a pattern figured out, then
you run your pattern.
You run your pattern. But
just
if I'm pulling up, this is my first creek, and there's a lay down on those 25 yards, there's another lay down and something.
Yeah, then now you're trying to identify the pattern for sure. Yeah.
I'm still proud just blowing right to that next laydown. It's a higher percentage area.
I mean,
that's me. That's my mentality.
There could be
everybody's different.
Could be a giant female cruising between those 25 yards eating bluegill.
There could be.
You never know, but
I'm going to blow
6 and 1. Pete's going to blow by it. That's fine.
I mean, you asked for our input.
I did.
Like I said, I just don't waste time on unproductive.
I tell you what, like even in the summertime, I've had really good days, offshore, and there's like flats that are 9 to 10 feet, and they look like do nothing. I mean, you can't quite make a cast to the shore, but like on Jordan, like there's some stuff under there that it looks like a dead nothing bank.
Yeah.
I've caught a lot of big fish off some spots.
That's going to be the new forward facing sonar is just going to be like a TV screen. You're going to be able to see everything. No, I'm just kidding. How crazy would that
and
be?
it's because there were some stumps and some brush piles and stuff that I found in there and all.
So there was structure. It wasn't a dead bank.
Yeah, there was a
That's why you scan that stuff to identify those laydowns.
Well, I didn't know until I got up on it, you know.
But I wouldn't fish that. I would use my electronics to look at it before I fished it. And that's why I have 360. So if I'm going between two laydowns and I see there's a submerged laydown between them, I fish that because I know it's there.
Yeah.
If I look and it's a flat bottom, I don't waste my time making a cast into it. So there, electronics play a big role
for sure
in that. Great for finding single logs in 4 to 10 foot of water. Yeah, that's what I use my 360 for, but forward facing works just as good.
I think all the fish are dumb, by the way, like that bite our artificial baits. Like, most of the time they don't look like anything, like a wacky worm. Like, what is that? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Just instinct.
Yeah, fish don't know.
Yeah,
it's just something that looks like they pretty sure if they think they can fit it in their mouth, they'll eat it. So
what else do we want to talk about?
Ducks. Got all my fish Saturday on a 3-inch Senko. Lake had a lot of pressure. Yeah, downsize even more, especially if it's really pressured.
It's like Ned rig size.
I wonder where David heard that advice. Probably from Trey. But yeah, so that's there was something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, if you fish with a BASS affiliate at any level, and you don't have a boater safety card, go get it because it's a requirement now for BASS. That goes down through the nation. So if you fish Bass Nation events, even your local club, if it's a Bass Nation club, you will have to have a boater safety to be able to legally.
When's that become effective?
January 1, I believe.
2025,
Yeah,
right?
2025.
Oh, I thought it was June 1st.
It might. Well, no, because they're not going to make them do it at the start of the season. I can tell you right now. I have an email right here.
Yeah. So we were talking the other night about like boaters.
Yeah, January 1, 2025.
Oh,
any
okay.
angler. So they're waiting until
boater safety cards. I don't know if all you guys listening. And we'll get back to that, Mikey Nay dudes. All y'all. I don't know if your states require it, but boater safety cards, like here in North Carolina, if you were born after a certain month in 1988, you must have a boater safety card. You can take it online, and we can post it after this.
Every state's different, so check your state laws.
Yeah, check your state laws. But yeah, now BASS in 2025, any of the affiliated deals will BASS.
I think you're up to. They put it in there. I think there's 36 states now that require you to take boater safety, but there's free courses out there. So, and they're not, it's basic stuff, but it's stuff you see people do dumb a lot of times on the water that don't know. So, why do fish eat pink? Nobody knows. I've read 1,000 studies and talked to 1,000 different anglers. There's just something about that color. Yeah, we're live on Facebook as well. On the one cast on my page in the group. They don't know why they eat pink. Nobody can say. Just something about them making mad. Oh, the company that makes the lure with 3 Colorado leaves he told you about, they're out of business. You can't find them anymore.
I'll text you after this, Christine.
Yeah, we're not putting that one out there.
That one
we love you guys, but that is a secret. I'm all about helping anglers. If you have my number, you can text me and I'll tell you. If you don't have my number, then I don't know you like that. No, I'm just playing. But there are other companies that make them, but the one he's talking about in particular is very good. But I've caught a lot of fish on the what's their name? BizBaits has one that I've caught a lot of fish on.
Yep.
3-blade spinnerbait. It's another good choice this time of year. Multi-bladed spinnerbait. And it's very good. You don't even know what it is, Mike.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, I'm blocking him. Sorry, you're now banned from all of our stuff. It's good to know you, Mike. No, but
I know his secret, so
I'm not gonna put his secret spinner baits out there because he's been crushing them on them. I'm not gonna say it.
No juice on. There's certain juice. Every angler has some certain juice that they just keep close to the chest. So NCB has some. I think I don't know who that is, but probably
NC Bassin. NC Bass?
No, that's not a bait company.
Oh,
I don't know. Who's NCB, Zach? You can't talk to us in abbreviations.
Acronyms.
But yeah, pink. Like Jeff said, I think they see it different. But also there's just something about that color. They hate it this time of year. I mean, they when they eat that stupid pink Nate's Custom Baits, there we go. When they eat that stupid, I'm gonna call it stupid bubblegum floating worm, they absolutely demolish it most of the time. And that's the one in our cluster in our last tournament. That's what I caught our last call fish that put us into the check line, and some much needed points was on the old bubblegum floating worm on a laydown. I just like it this time of year. I don't know.
I don't know what it
I really
resembles,
would.
though.
This time of year, I have to have 4. Like you said, we could have 3. I have to have 4 rods because I have to have a flipping rod because you're probably gonna
Oh.
find a fish on a bed, and I gotta have my flipping.
There's
rod
only
for that.
one way to catch them on a bed.
D-bomb. Gray saw. I never threw anything else.
I caught him on a bed today on a wacky worm.
Oh yeah, you can definitely catch. You can definitely catch them on other stuff.
Yeah, but you know that is interesting though. Like, you know, when we were fishing, you know, the Jordan tournament, you know, we were throwing a multitude of different bugs at the fish, right? From biz baits to missile D bombs to the list goes on.
Crush City, that
Crush
Bronco
City,
bug.
even the Rage Craw, like, you know, different ones, but and they all offer different actions, and it gets the fish in a different attitude. Or you just flip to them enough times, they're just going to eat whatever that 16th flip is. Yeah, I don't know, but you just got to have that. That's why we have so much tackle on the boat. It's ridiculous, man. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you gotta let the fish tell you what they want. Sometimes they want
And-
that Rage Crawl that's a lot more aggressive flap and it's a skinnier body. Sometimes the D-bomb because it's just a natural. It's not super aggressive with
Right.
its motion and everything. Sometimes it's a lizard or a
Wow.
speed worm or it just
Or brush hog.
you'll know pretty quick. Like if you flip to a fish 30 times and it doesn't pay any attention, sometimes you'll switch baits. I don't know if it's because you switch baits or not, but the very next flip with that new different bait, they eat it. So
Here's a question for everybody. Let's talk about waste. I noticed this about you, and I do the exact. Well, I don't do it, but sometimes I do it. When you put a D-bomb on, right, and you're like, I'm going to change baits. Do you carefully take that D-bomb
no, I
off?
rip it off the hook and throw it in the bottom of the boat with the other 300.
So there'll be like 800 D-bombs.
I don't have time to sit there and try to save.
So do you
pieces.
guys do that, right? You're like, man, that's $10 a pack or whatever. I'm gonna slowly unthread that from the hook and then rethread.
There are times where I do try to conserve the bait, but if I'm fishing a tournament, I don't. The last thing I care about is saving that bait.
I rip it off.
I'm
Do
just
you?
pulling it off
Yeah.
and chucking it down. Because even with a big flipping hook, even if you take it off there, it still is never the same. Like,
That's true, but you can flip it around the other side too.
And I leave
talking
my
about the hole
I
and
try to
put it
leave
in
my
the head.
plastic
Yeah.
song as long as possible.
Yeah,
Even if a pinning or something might come off or something,
Mm.
I don't care
Pete's not doing that.
because half the baits living in the water or beat
Are-
up or
one fish, new bait.
That's true. That's true, right? Like you can catch them on anything. To be brutally honest,
But I put a new bait on
Yeah.
every fish.
do you
Or
guys put a new bait on every single time?
in a tournament?
Okay.
When I'm fun fishing, it doesn't matter as much to me.
And
But-
on the soft plastic, whatever it's made out of, really is going to depend too. So
Mhm.
like missile baits, Guggen's baits. I don't own any of them, but their baits are really soft. But then you get into like the more stiff baits, like Biz baits. They got stiffer plastic, right?
the
um,
Lastec from
Yeah,
Z-Man.
Lastec from Z-Man. So it really just depends. But if you're trying to save a couple of dollars, you might not want to.
If you want to save baits, don't throw anything Google.
well,
Yeah.
Kitex or anything like that, it's less than one fish per.
Oh, for sure. For
That's
sure.
funny people say that, but I've had days on Lake Erie and caught 70 smallmouth on a single 4-inch Kitech.
Do you super glue the head to the jig?
Oh, every time.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to.
Mm.
Yeah, but they definitely aren't as good as the Elastec ones, but they also I'd feel like have much better action than the Elastec. The stiffer the plastic, the less
action.
you get.
For that's a
Um,
fact.
I use a bait until it won't stay on the hook.
There you go,
tournament or not.
Jeff.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of folks that are like that. For me, I like to have a fresh bait on there after I catch a fish.
Heck, even if it's like a longer creature bait or something, and like the either Texas rig it or screw lock it,
Yeah.
the front end can get messed up. I'll just bite off a little portion of it.
There
It's
you go.
fresh again.
Yeah.
Good to go.
So here's what
I'll do that if I'm low on baits. Yeah,
So here's
for sure.
This was something I'm also cheap too, Jeff, even though I just ordered $125 for 5 baits worth of baits. So when I was on the phone with Mike, right, I kept getting this fish on the bed to react, but the soft plastic I was using, I was flipping a drop shot in there. I was throwing a glide bait on there, all sorts of stuff. But so this fish would not bite or get the entire wacky worm in his mouth. Now I could have cut the wacky worm down, right? But instead, I grabbed a Ned rig biz bait deal, and I'll go grab it in a little bit. and I wacky rigged it.
Oh yeah.
And I just flipped it in there. It was like, boom.
Yep.
And I'm like, you can throw anything at them on the bed, but get creative with your bed fish.
I mean, Alex Watts won the co-angler on when they were at Bugs Island last year in the Open, and he was wacky rigging a Ned bait.
yeah, was he?
Yeah, or Nico rigging it one way or the other.
Okay.
But that's just a smaller profile.
It's just
It's
a turd.
almost the
It's just a
exact same
turd,
bait. He was using the magic worm, but the little one, and he was wacky rigging it because I.
Yeah, but those bed fish, each fish is different.
Yeah.
One this year, it was pretty locked down well, but he didn't want to really touch or was interested in anything except my bluegill swim jig, the perch swim jig. But when I would flip in there, if I flip past the bed, like he would turn and look at it about 2 feet away. If I would drag it to him or try to shake him from his face, he wouldn't do it. What I had to do was really fast and hit him right in the mouth. And as soon as it hit him, he'd grab it.
That's Pete.
And so it took a couple times I had to do that. But it was just, he wanted the reaction. Well, there was only one bait I had rigged up, but like all 5 that he would actually pay attention to.
Yeah.
And then I had to smack him right in the face.
Dude, I've never seen someone piss a bass off so bad other than Pete. Like Pete will straight up freight train a bass and not like harming it, but he'll like knock that bass like 15 times in a row just to get that to where the bass won't even spin. He'd be like, whoop, nose down. He's like, oh, this fish is caught. You know what I mean?
I caught every single bedfish I've caught this year on a demo.
I love
every single one. I never threw another bait this year.
I love it when you do that and you hit them on the side but that's when they turn and flare. They just can't help themselves. And they pick it up because sometimes you just gotta smack the snot.
If you hit them in the side and they don't spin and they roll on their side, you can just go, that fish is caught.
Yeah. All right. So what, Aaron? Hopefully you got the information you're looking for. Aaron,
old timer. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Aaron hit us up earlier asking about some electronics. Hopefully you get that figured out. You know, shoot us a DM if you have any more questions, Aaron, about map cards or anything like that, bro.
Old timer told me that when you catch a fish, there's a scent left on the bait that attracts other fish to bite it. Maybe. I don't know. Back in the day when I chewed, I used to like spit Red Man on them. Oh, they love a little Copenhagen. Yeah. You see how wet my line gets when I make a knot. My baits all had Copenhagen.
He does, like Pete doesn't even spit on them. He just like dangles them in his mouth in the saliva.
Yeah, you gotta get him wet, bud. You gotta get him wet. And Mikey said, hell yeah. I don't know what he said hell yeah to, but
hell yeah for like beating the crap out of the fish.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they're really just being stupid, I'll put like a 1 ounce weight on, and then I'll literally won't put a hook on. I'll put a screw lock in it with a bait, and I will roll it up to him, and I will act like I'm trying to snag them. Yeah. I'll hit them that hard in the side.
Yeah.
To where they get mad, and then
to where you actually did snag.
Well, that one whirled to eat it, and I just got a little overzealous.
His mouth open.
Here's a technique you can use with like a 1 ounce flipping or an ounce and a half like a flipping weight. Is that don't bobber stop it and put a floating plastic on where your hook, so it's going to come down. So when you pitch in there, that thing is so heavy, you can just move your line back and forth and tap it, keep it in the same place. That's and true. Tap it against that big weight.
Yep.
And if you get it close to that ideal spot, like it just drives them nuts.
Yeah. Do you guys ever put a like a red glass bead between like your bobber stop and your
100%
weight?
Makes a huge difference sometimes.
Sometimes it definitely does.
Sometimes that red bead will be the complete difference on a fish biting or not. Sometimes you'll take it, put a red bead, you'll flip at them 1,000 times, they won't even react. You put a red bead on, flip it in there the first time, they eat it.
It's ridiculous.
Just something about that. I don't know if it's the bead or the clanking or what it is, but that's the only reason I have red beads. I use them there, and then I use them in the Carolina rig. Tokyo rig's a good one for bed fishing. Yep.
That's a Nick Kincaid deal. He loves that Tokyo rig too. What is the biggest challenge with getting big fish to bite on the bed? What do you think? To get let's talk about getting the big fish on the bed.
Well, you have to make sure they're on the bed.
You gotta get it. That's usually the biggest challenge. A lot of times those big females don't, unless you're there at the exact right time, they're not locked on the bed. They're sitting back off of it. So there's a lot of theories. I have definitely caught the male and had the female slide up when I've caught the male. I also know that sometimes if you get the male mad enough to where he's running all over the place, she'll come up there to help protect the bed, and then you can get her to bite.
I've also seen it where I never saw the female,
Yeah.
But that female just got tired of that male not taking care of the problem, and she darts out of nowhere and grabs your
Right.
lure, and that happens too.
Have you ever had times where you have pissed the male off so badly, but you're intentionally trying not to catch him that you get the female that, yeah. So, we ran into that. Mikey and Nick fished a tournament on Harris a couple weeks ago. That's a tough lake, right? It's a real tough lake to bed fish and try to get the female to slide up on the bed. And the reason being is because a lot of those males that you catch off the bed, they're in the slot. So you can't put them in the box and wait for Big Mama to slide up. You know what I mean?
And that doesn't always
work.
And
There's times you'll catch the female.
Last year,
or the female will just swim away. When you
last year, there was about a 9-pounder female right off the bed. And I finally caught the male. That was only this big. And I put in the box. And then I get back up and she was still there. I flipped her there one time and then she disappeared. I sat there for like 30 minutes just waiting for her to come back.
You're playing with fire.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Like,
so if you guys are like, and I think we covered it in our episode with Seth Ellis, right? We talked a lot of bed fishing stuff. So, go back to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you guys want, and listen to that episode that we recorded with Seth Ellis. And he puts out a lot of good information on bed fishing and what you can do to get, generate those bigger fish and stuff. So it's definitely an art. It's not a science by any means, I don't think.
No, you could tell pretty quick you do it enough and you kind of figure out fish behavior, and you can tell pretty quick if you're going to be able to make them bite or not. And there have been some that I was pretty sure I was going to be able to make bite and they never did.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you can tell pretty quick. The best is when you roll up and flip it in there and it drops and they just eat it. And you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, except for you don't learn anything then. You spend 2 hours on a fish,
Sometimes it's nice. Yeah. They just eat it on the first flip.
Yeah.
David, you got to get yourself a pair of those Hobies, brother. We put the link in there. Pete put the link tree in there. So and I know you ordered them for Christine before, but check out those Sight Masters, check out the floating frames and stuff like that. I know Mikey ordered him a pair. Those are tournament winning sunglasses on Lake Gaston.
That's right.
So check those out. You're going to save $15 if you order them using that link. Well worth the investment.
Yes, it is. I agree.
Jeff said largemouth are harder than spots or meanmouths for sure. Absolutely. I think largemouths are probably the most finicky of the bass species that we fish for, specifically when it comes to the spawn, right? Like smallmouth, they're not stupid. They just eat anything. Spots, they are stupid and they eat everything. And largemouth are the ones that, man, those ones, it's either feast or famine on those.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. I don't know. I never really bed fish for spots, but a smallmouth.
I've never.
I know he got a new cash in.
I've never
reel
really.
tonight.
I've never bed fish for a smallmouth, but I have caught spots and all.
Have you?
I
don't even think I've ever seen a spotted bass spawning. In fact, I know I haven't.
I've never really fished the lakes where they are to see them, but a smallmouth is the dumbest fish in the world. When you literally just have to put it in their bed and they're going to eat it.
I'm trying to give them more
sometimes
spots.
I mean, we saw the MLF cheaters do it last year where they caught the same fish off the bed like 17 times, and that's 100% legit.
New casting rods and a reel. That's a good night.
If a smallmouth is on a bed,
it's gonna,
and you put something in its bed, it is going to eat it 100 times out of 100 times. And you don't have to work with them. Usually, there's not even a magic spot. Sometimes it's either the right or left side of the bed. But man, them smallmouth. And that's what frustrated my dad so much. He's like, a smallmouth, you just got to get it in there. I'm like, these aren't smallmouth. These are largemouth.
Totally different colors.
Yeah. Gaston, they're aggressive like a smallmouth. I'm sure. Yeah, I bet the spots are. I just never fished a spot like really during the spawn. And when I do, actually I have, but I've only looked for largemouth in those tournaments. I haven't looked for spots. So
at what depth are the spots spawning at?
I don't even know that either.
Like Jeff, Mike, if you guys, you guys have a lot of experience on those bodies of water. I couldn't tell you where to even begin looking for spots except for maybe on rock, unless they spawn like a largemouth and fan out of bed and like, I don't know, the grassy areas or something. I have no idea.
I mean, I would assume that every bass species spans out of bed, so I'm assuming they would too. He said shallow, so they push up just like a largemouth will. But I know that they can also spawn deeper because that was one of the things Corey and Seth have both said is they'll spawn in like 12, 14 foot of water.
Yeah.
which sort of makes it tough to come up with a control measure or whatever.
Now, when they spawn, Mike, we're having a conversation with the crowd now. When they spawn, are they just like a largemouth where there's, I mean, do they spend days up on the bed, or do they, I don't know how they do it. Anyways, let us know. Let us know in the comments about spotted bass spawning. I have no idea.
Dave said, actually, I bought 2 cash and fishing rods and 2 reels, but only one is mine. The other's for my warrior and May. That's awesome. Your warrior's lucky guy or gal. I've been thinking about doing that. I just haven't had time to head over and see my homies at Cashin and get something set up. But I do plan to do that. So hopefully May 18th they'll be on it. James has spots that spawn deeper. Yeah, I'm sure that they do. And if you see a smallmouth on a bait, it's not a smallmouth. So that's a spot as well, because there's no. What do you say, Corey? 2 years ago, when we had Corey in here, it was been 5 years since they've had 100% smallmouth on Lake James. So he said you've probably got, at this point, that's over a year ago we had him here. So you've probably got 3 more years of catching those meanmouth on Lake James. And then there will be no remnants of large or smallmouth bass ever being in that lake. It'll be 100% spotted bass and then the largemouth. So they're going to breed the smallmouth right out of Lake James. Which is terrible. That's why I don't be a bucket biologist and move fish. I need to figure out how to catch fish in Harris before the 18th. Just fish slow with a wacky rig and you'll catch fish, I promise. Green pumpkin or black and blue, wacky rig, Senko, and
go throw some top water.
Fish slow. Yeah. By then, you should get some top water action. Should be picking up, but yeah, so James, Lake James, enjoy the meanmouths while you can. You got a couple more years, and then you're never going to see any remnants of the old what you call it, smallmouth.
No,
Cody said he needed to figure out how to catch fish in Harris before the 18th. He said he caught 8 cats last week. I've never caught a catfish in Harris shallow.
Oh, shallow?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only caught 1 shallow catfish, and that was on a crankbait one time. But other than that, it's usually hooking them in the butthole with a flutter spoon or something like that.
I catch them on a flutter spoon all the time. Right in the
chatterbaits.
So it's funny you said
I've
that.
got them on chatterbait.
But that's been on Jordan. I don't think I've done that on Harris.
Jeff just said root beer Cinco's on Harris, right? That's kind of like
that's PB and J, bro.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's root beer color.
No, it's PB and J.
That's PB and J.
Not the top, not that. That's the bottom.
That's brown.
That's brown.
Whatever.
Root beer has like a almost like a reddish tinge to it.
Cody,
it's a very unique color.
Cody was out there with a jig head minnow trying to get him a forward fishing sonar.
Put that forward facing around and the jig head minnow. You're a month.
If you're taking,
you're a little early for that,
Cody. If you're taking a veteran fishing on May 18th, I would just put a, depending on the experience level of your veteran, I'd put a spinning rod with a wacky worm or a spinning rod with a chatterbait or something like that in their hand and let them go to town.
I think I'm going to draw Trey as my veteran. So
we're going to be throwing around little Ned rigs.
That's all we're throwing, isn't it? I'm going to give him a Ned rig.
Actually, you could do that too, Cody. You could definitely hit some of those rocky points with like a Ned rig or shaky head, and they'll probably pick up some by the time May 18th rolls around.
I used to do, I don't know, it might be getting a little too late. Well, no, you're probably still doing the rocky rig. I used to do that in front of the reeds.
Yep.
With a little Ned rig.
Yep.
Super light Ned rig.
Absolutely.
Well, that was your problem. You were throwing a jig head minnow shallow, man.
That's fair, not.
Just mess with you. That's fair, not. Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. It's random, David.
Oh, man.
It's completely random.
By the time May 18th rolls around, it should be a pretty good time because they should be like kind of out of those post-spawn blues and stuff like that. And they should be feeding pretty heavily, like Pete was talking about, like that, that real heavy aggressive feeding before they move out into the summer flats and stuff. So you guys should, in theory, have a pretty good tournament.
Yeah. And if you want to catch them, turn that forward facing off.
Yeah.
Because Harris is a lake.
Just leave that to me.
You don't want that pinging on Harris.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when they're shallow. I don't turn any of my graphs on when they're shallow on Harris. They have gotten super. I mean, I've seen now this year I saw my 360 messing with them, and that never used to, but they're getting ultra sensitive to all the pinging going on. So
that's a fact. Yep.
No, 10-inch worm definitely gets bit on Harris, especially when they're offshore in the summer.
Yeah, big old The OG culprit ribbon tail worms, they do a really good job when you're dragging those over those ledges and stuff like that.
The
So,
old Carolina rig.
Carolina rig or just a Texas rig. I mean, they bite them.
Yamamoto's. Oh, the Yamamoto's root beer. He said root beer is red with gold flake.
Yeah.
So it should be
Now
called mug.
I want a root beer float now. I'm just saying.
Go make you one.
Go down to Dairy Queen.
Like I said, shh.
Mikey, be quiet. You're gonna throw
Mikey,
4
you're
different
just
kinds
gonna
of
be throwing a
buzzbaits.
buzz bait and a horny toad.
Oh man. Yeah. So speaking of that tournament, how many more boaters do they need right now? Do you guys need?
I think 2, but I'll have to confirm.
Okay.
Just go to Piedmont Bass Classic website and sign up. Because even if there's too many, they'll still take your name, and that way, if anybody backs out, we'll have you.
Yep. I'm on standby right now.
You are?
What? I'm on standby in case.
Yeah,
need another boat for sure.
Yeah.
The soda shop downtown.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
went.
it's S&T
in Sanford?
Shop.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
in
yeah.
Pittsburgh.
It's Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Oh, there's one in there's a couple in Sanford
Mhm.
downtown.
So that was the problem on Karen on Friday. I had my forward facing sonar on. I
Yep.
mean, it's possible, David. But I will say this, like, that lake is unlike any other lake I've seen before with the way that you have to like soak a wacky worm. A lot of lakes you can pop it and wiggle it and do whatever, give it some action. But that lake is one of those that they just like it a dead stick. It's kind of weird. But it could have also been the day too. I mean, like I went out yesterday and the day before, and it was like a 2-fish day. And then I went out today and it was, 5 fish within 2 hours and they were all off the bed. So it just depends. I mean, that's just the way it is. Jordan was much better.
Yeah, Jordan was good on Saturday.
Speaking of tough, man, like, and I'll bring it up here just briefly. If you guys follow the BASS Opens, they just fished a tournament on Logan Martin. They're still fishing a tournament. The cut line was today for Championship Saturday. Those weights were brutal. They were brutal. I mean, guys were catching 5 for 7 pounds. 10 pounds was actually doing pretty good. Like it's pretty amazing.
I think I was looking at most of it, 14, 15 pounds a day. I mean, there was a 19-pound bag yesterday, but that was that guy's he's leading because he had 15 the day.
Yeah.
What's his name?
He's been leading both days.
He won it last year.
Josh Butler.
Oh no, that was different.
But yeah, like 14 of, I mean, like, yeah, third place for Jeter's got under 30 pounds. So 14 and 15 a day, you're 14 a day, you're in the cut. So what was interesting about this, a lot of the guys who were leading like top 10, top 20 for the EQ standings, like they're all over the place in this event. It's going to shake some things up
Really?
with the points race.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah. We'll see the new batch of youngins coming in at the end of the year to the Elite Series. Thomas Bait and Tackle, Jeff, I don't even know if they're open anymore.
Who was I talking to the other day? Someone said they had been there recently, but it's one of those things where
hit or miss.
you never know when they're open. Because the last time I went by, and I guess if you know the guy personally and have his number, he'll come open it up for you. But
they got a lot of good stuff in there, man. It's a good OG bait shop.
I've never seen it open, so I've never gone in and
No.
I'll get somewhere else.
What Frank say?
Toughest fishing 8 hours last Saturday at Baden Lake without a single fish, and winners had 19 pounds.
Oh
That's-
man,
Sounds about like Baden Lake.
that's brutal.
been
dude.
there before.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's one of those deals like we were talking about earlier. Like they're either on in a certain part of the lake, or they're on all over the lake, or they ain't on at all.
Cody said if they want things that slow, I wonder if a jerkbait at winter speeds would work too.
I know a jerk bait over the bed works pretty good.
I've always had good success with jerk bait at Harris
yeah.
all year long.
I don't. I
I'd
don't.
like a
Jerk bait's not a
Wintertime, summer, fall. I've always had a lot of success out there.
A lot of guys like throwing them, but yeah, I haven't really had a whole lot of luck with it.
Not so much at Jordan. I have at Falls.
Yeah.
Better be yeah. I don't know how. I know Thomas is for sale. I don't know how much longer he's actually going to open the store. So
If you guys are interested in buying Thomas Bait and Tackle, I do know that he price quoted me last year over email at $1.4 million. So if you got that kind of change laying around, you want to buy his bait shop,
There you go.
make him an offer.
You can have normal hours and people will go shop there maybe. Yeah. That's how I was on Sutton. I was using the same thing as ever. Yeah, sometimes it's just not being in the right area, especially Sutton if you're not in the right pool or whatever they call them.
Well, I mean, and even with our tournaments, right? Like I'm throwing a bladed jig right behind you and not getting bit, like it can happen. You may not be doing the throw, and go listen to the episode with Abby Abadanza, like him and Jody Queen were fishing the kayak tournament, and they were throwing the exact same thing, but Abby was smashing them and Jody wasn't, or he was at least getting the bigger fish. So I think a lot of it has to do with time, place, cadence, all that.
I think
stuff.
it really came down to his retrieve, what he was doing with
Yep.
it.
And I think the soft plastic he was using.
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
right?
So the other one too.
Go back and check that episode out. That was a great one, man. That was a great episode.
Yeah, trading and catch. And it was cadence. That was and trailer. I had a different trailer because I couldn't give you one because I only had 2 of them.
Yeah, I didn't catch a single keeper fish all day in that Gaston.
And then when I lost my last trailer because them stupid spots bite the tail off of it, and I didn't get any more bites on the old chatterbait. That was an awesome episode with Abby. Yeah, Abby's a good dude. Abby, I've known him for a few years now, and I'm sure I partied with him and didn't even realize it was him because we kind of grew up in the same area. So
here's who I want on the show. So if anybody knows, and I asked Mike Johns earlier if he can get us in contact, but if anybody knows Lucas Black,
that'd be a good one.
We want him on the show because right now he's crushing the tournament on Lake Chickamauga. I think he's in the top 15 right now.
Yeah, he's a heck of an angler
for the Toyota Series. Obviously, he's a Hollywood star. He's got some really good films out there. But if you guys know Lucas, shoot him our numbers or whatever you need, and let's try to get him on the show because I think that would be a fantastic episode.
Got to go. Have a great weekend, everyone.
All right,
later, Jeff.
Take it easy, Jeff.
Yeah, no, Lucas is cool, man. Hollywood and living that country life. If you follow him on TikTok or anything, he's always cooking deer meat.
Oh yeah.
And out there fishing and hunting with his boys and all that stuff. It's pretty awesome stuff. Sean?
I don't know.
Must be from a movie.
I don't know.
We're start a live video for Fishing Friday. Why are you reminding me now? It's supposed to start. It's after 7, dude. You're a little bit late. Facebook reminded me.
They didn't change. They didn't spring forward, I guess.
No, they're still living in the past. He is all over TikTok. Yeah, I get all his stuff. It looks like he's working on something with a bait company. He had a funny one the other day. I guess he has 2 boys and they were fishing off the back of the boat. Oh, his name I didn't even realize he was in Fast and Furious.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's funny. But he had one, he had his 2 boys in the back of the boat, and his oldest of the 2 went and was peeing, and then the youngest one walked up and shoved him off the back of the boat into the lake. He was like, he pushed me off, I fell in my pee. What's your thoughts on the free rig versus Texas rig? Time and place. Fishational. I've had a free rig tied on all spring, and I haven't thrown it yet. I just haven't come across when I needed to, but if you run into a situation, I feel like that's going to play a lot more like fishing brush piles and things like that, because it's a different look that they haven't seen a ton of. And I know some of the folks that are throwing it and some of the bigger series and stuff are having a lot of success, and that's kind of how they're using it, where they would normally throw a drop shot or a shaky head or something along those lines. They're throwing that free rig. And they're getting a lot of bites on it. So I've had one tied on. I have not thrown it yet, but haven't really been in the right situation.
I think if you fish a lake with a lot of grass, it's a good bait to get to flutter down, through that grass, depending on the kind of grass it is, like eelgrass or something like that. It's also really good for highly pressured fish too. Whereas, that Texas rig, if you have it pegged, it's going to fall straight down depending on the weight that you're using. But I think you got to let the fish tell the story too, because if they're not biting a Texas rig and they're not biting a drop shot, well, then you might want to go with a free rig. And
So
it is really good around rock.
Yeah.
It's really good around grass. I'm not going to throw a free rig in a laydown, but that's just me. I'm not going to do that because you have the potential of getting wrapped up around the limbs and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you also have to choose your weight very wisely with a free rig. So you could go a teardrop or you could go a straight cylindrical. It really just depends on the cover you're throwing them in, then your soft plastic. I throw it on either a 3/0 or a 5/0 worm hook, because I'm usually throwing worms on them, but you can do it with bugs as well. What were you going to say, Ben?
Well, no. So the free rig's got like typical drop shot type of
Just a
sinker on it.
cylinder. It's just a drop shot weight.
So what does that do different than if you didn't peg a normal sinker?
So if you ever watched underwater video with a Texas rig with a traditional like flipping sinker or worm sinker, it doesn't fall freely down the line because of the angles of the way it goes in there. So it might only fall 2 inches and then it'll get hung up on your line. With that cylinder on the free rig, it'll fall.
It's because
It could be 15 feet in front of the thing, so it'll flutter down a lot slower, and then you can work it down to the weight, so you're keeping it in there. And then if you pop it, you get the same thing. That weight will fall, and then you can slowly feather that through the weight. So yeah, you're looking at the drop shot weight with the not the clip-on style. Obviously, you do not want the clip-on style, but the ones with the round tie off. And then you can use a cylinder or a teardrop. Cylinder is good in any cover. Teardrop, I do not throw near any rock, because that does not come out of rock very good when it gets down into it. The cylinder will come in and out of rock really nice, but yeah, it's just a whole different. So yeah, because of the diameter and the angle with a regular weight, it'll get hung up on the line, and it doesn't let it fall freely. So that's really the big difference. And then bait choice, it does make a difference. The more buoyant the bait, the better, because it's going to be behind it more. And then you can work it if you throw up big enough, like a 1/2 ounce or something. Once that settles on the bottom, you can feather that bait down to it. And then how a lot of those guys are having success is getting it to fall the weight in front of the brush pile, that bait falling down over the top, and then they're able to pull it. But then when they let it back, it'll start to float back because it's a floating bait. So they can keep it basically above the brush pile or whatever it is they're fishing, and in that strike zone until the fish will come up and eat it. And then you're not trying to do it with a shaky head where you got to burn it over the top and then let it fall and hope they'll come up and eat it aggressive. Or a drop shot, you can only get right in front of it. You can't get it over the top of it. So that's really, it's just a different
forward facing sonar really helps with that bait.
That's how most of the folks that are really successful.
But I would recommend, if you're going to throw it, like don't use like your drop shot like line style. Like I usually use like 6, 8, maybe 10 pound. Like
I throw it on 14-pound fluoro.
14 to 17. I'm a 15-pound poly guy, but you're gonna have to set the hook like on these things, and so you gotta give them a little juice behind the hook set.
Sure. And you gotta set it a lot like a Carolina rig. It's more of a side sweep than a picking up and jacking it, because then all you're doing is setting the hook. I missed so many fish when I first started fishing a Carolina rig because it didn't click in my head.
Oh, you were
and I was just I'm just jacking the weight, not actually getting the hook into the fish. Or when I did, I'd have them hooked for a second and then they'd come off because I was just barely skin hooking them. So you got to learn that sweeping to the side hook set. What's going on, Wicked Bassin? Glad you could join us. We're wrapping up here, but I'm glad you jumped on. You may have been here and just hadn't commented yet, but glad to have you. That's a style I've never caught a fish on. Which style is that, Frank?
Probably the free rig.
Probably the free rig. Yeah.
It could be.
I haven't thrown it.
Man, this thing is stinky, dude. You smell it?
Garlic.
Yeah, garlic and bizbaits. So hey guys, check it out.
Carolina rig, Frank. You were in North Carolina, and so I made it a point last year to throw the Carolina rig more because I've given people way too much money that are throwing it, and I'm not. So I had it on the front deck of my boat. The first day I went out when they were offshore, I caught one on like the third cast, and I never threw it again. So
yeah, I've only caught like a handful. I was like, I want to throw something.
I mean, I think Seth or Jesse said the same thing. I think it was Seth. I can't remember.
Seth's here with us. I think that's what's a Carolina rig.
Yeah,
there he is.
Right.
It's not a flipping bait or a jig or a topwater. Seth doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, that's right.
He doesn't fish outside of 3 feet, so.
It definitely has won a lot of these OGs some money. So
it continues to. I mean, it's
sure.
just a bait that works really well and put some time into it.
You can put anything on it too.
No, you can literally put anything on it.
I mean, you could
Sinkos, lizards, I mean, you name it, you can put it on there. Bugs.
So I did want to mention this. You know,
Jerk baits.
we've already done 2 giveaways.
Yep.
Right. If you guys have not went on to any of the media platforms or YouTube or whatever and left us a review and take a snapshot of it and send it to us in DMs, you're missing out on getting yourself entered into the giveaway. So we have 3 more months worth of giveaways, right?
Yep.
We got boxes of jigs, we got other tackle, we got Hobie eyewear. You know, we got a bunch of stuff that our friends have been gracious enough to give to us, to give to you guys. So make sure that you do what I just said. If you haven't, leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, whatever. Send us a screenshot of it, and then we'll get you entered into the giveaway.
I was
So
trying to look at what our thing
Well,
was.
I know this
but I
next
can't
one is
here it
Hobie,
is.
Hobie eyewear, and then I forget what the second one is. Pete's bringing up here.
Swamp Fox custom
Swamp
prize back. So he's got it's got a package of custom painted baits, some spinner baits, and a buzz bait, and then 3 packs of soft plastics, and then a pair of Hobie eyewear sunglasses of your choice that they're going to hook you up with. So we had another question. Any recommendations for car next Saturday? Old Bug Light and old Kerr.
yeah, Seth's on here asking.
Ask Seth. He might tell you depending on what the tournament is. No, I mean they're going to be. My guess would be post spawn pretty heavy. You might still catch some spawning fish. So a little bit of a shad spawn. I would check all the usual springtime suspects. And if it's one thing I'll say, and Seth, don't get mad, is if there is some wind, I would be throwing a blade.
Yep, I'd be throwing a blade,
I
and
would definitely be throwing a blade.
and just understand. I mean, like, you know, that fishery is different between the south and the north.
Yep.
Right. So it's very different. The structure is different. The water clarity is different. The bait fish are different. So depending on what they're doing in the south, could be very, very different than what they're doing in the north. So and check the water level. If the water level is high, well, then go shallow. That's my recommendation.
Probably be shallow, yeah.
Yeah,
Shallow
I'd probably
no
go
matter what.
shallow anyways, because you're going to have a lot of post-spawn females or males cruising around for bluegills and stuff like that. So, but I mean,
Cover water.
we could totally steer you wrong by saying everything we just said, because I've been burned on that lake before, and I think these guys have too. You really got to go out there and figure out what the conditions are calling for, because if they're dropping the lake or anything like that, it's totally going to change the game.
Yeah, and I haven't been on it since our tournament, so
Yeah.
I have no idea where that lake is.
Clearest water usually is in Big Nut Bush. That's where it's at.
So it has been said.
I think so. I don't know. It could.
It does seem.
We got storms moving in,
Yeah,
right?
I don't
So
know-
I
I
mean,
don't know
that could
what's
totally
going on.
change the whole dynamic.
Any advice for Alloway Lake, New Jersey, is looking to get her points lead back. Beetle spin. I don't know what any of those words mean that you just put up there.
If you can run your big engine, do it.
Go back.
And you know, honestly, like, you guys are so far north, you're probably like moving into the spawn. I would
think
assume,
so.
right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't leave without, you know, some sort of weightless worm in a flipping bait. And I wouldn't discount a topwater bait early in the morning either.
We'll be lucky if there's an actual ramp. Yeah, I mean, might have to launch on the beach again. I don't know. That blew my mind. So
There you
beginning
go.
of spawn. So yeah, there you go.
You know exactly what to do, David.
Yep, I would probably lock on a wacky rig in my hand.
Wacky rig. I would take a 3/8 ounce snagless flipping jig out there. I'd probably just take those 2 things, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And a D-bomb.
Bladed jig.
Yeah, D-bomb. Or a bladed jig.
Cover
sure.
some water, yeah.
well, we're over an
Well,
hour.
yep.
I'm tired.
I know you're feeling like crap too. Pete's
Yeah,
been
I'm not
feeling bad all
feeling too
day.
good because I came off my diet and ate a bunch of crap food, so now I don't feel good. And yeah, so I'm gonna go home and drink some more water and take a nap and not fish tomorrow because Trey's got to go. He's got a busy day. He doesn't know if there's gonna be enough time, but they might go to Home Depot.
Yep.
They're gonna look at some furniture. I don't know if there's gonna be enough time. I don't know. I don't know if we'll be able to get it all in. But that is his plan. So we're not going to fish because of the rain. Chelsea will be fishing in the rain at Falls Lake.
Yeah, I'll
So,
probably go fishing anyway.
Say a little prayer for her. And yeah, everybody have a good weekend.
Yeah.
Get out there and catch some fish. A little Bed Bath and Beyond. That's right, Seth. I don't know if there's going to be time. I don't know.
Beyond.
That's right. Beyond.
If you guys are fishing tournaments this weekend, good luck. Hope you guys catch 5. of the biggest fish in the lake. And, hit us up anytime. If you got any questions about anything, like I said, go back, get entered into that giveaway. You don't want to miss an opportunity to get some stuff for free 99. Cost you nothing.
Thank you too, David, for the gifts, the awesome sign. We showed it off last week. The challenge coins, mine's on my desk with all my other coins at work, so I don't have it. It's suctioned to the table right now. So thank you to Christine and David for that awesome metal sign. We're gonna get it hung up here this week, probably. We got to figure out where we want to put it. Thank you all for your support. If you haven't gone back, Seth is in the chat right now. He's getting ready, I'm sure, to sign off since we are. But if you haven't listened to the episode that came out with him on Thursday, he gives a lot of really good information about fishing in general, and especially letting you know that you're probably not fishing shallow enough. And you're probably not doing the right things to break down cover, and he gives the juice on how to do it. So.
That's it. That's his new nickname, Seth the Juice Ellis.
Seth the Juice Ellis in the house.
The Juice
I'm just gonna call him Juice. Wasn't that what they called O.J. Simpson?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yep, you're Juice now, Seth.
And
You're
I
welcome.
think Seth has his own apparel.
And
line
they were
too,
both
doesn't
football
he?
players. I mean,
Is he selling?
I don't
apparel?
know if he's
I'm not-
selling that or not, but Seth, if you are, post it up in the group and let people know, because I didn't wear your hat tonight, but it's in my truck. I've been rocking it. It's he's got a cool logo he came up with and all of that. Make sure you check out his socials and follow along with his journey on the NPFL, as well as taking our lunch money at all these local derbies. So appreciate y'all. Appreciate everybody's support. There will not be a Fishing Friday next week. We didn't talk about that. I will be down in South Carolina on Lake Murray for the Elite Series event. I'm going to go down in Marshall for the week. My wife and I are going to go down Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then come back Sunday. Either we might stay and see him hand that trophy out. We might leave. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see who's in the top 10, especially if some of our buddies are in the running there. I'll for sure stay, but it's only a couple hour drive, so it's not bad. So we'll be there. Trey will be team. He'll be solo in our team tournament on Old Mayo next Saturday. So I was going to try to drive back, but the look on my wife's face when I said I might leave late Friday and drive straight to Mayo wasn't, and I love my wife and she is very supportive of my fishing and she loves to fish too, but it's our anniversary weekend and I can take a hint. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to enjoy some time away and unplugged and hanging out down there. Hopefully get to hang out with Maddie a little bit or something and see our friends, John and everybody down there. So looking forward to that. So we'll be back in 2 weeks with Fishing Friday Live, which we won't be back then either, because that will be the that'll be Take a Warrior fishing event, the mixer. So it'll be 4 weeks. We won't be back in May.
We
will not.
May be able to go live from the mixer. I don't know.
Actually, I am going to look at that. We might go live from the mixer, so keep up for that. But then it's Memorial Day weekend, the weekend after that, and we have a tournament. So
we will May 31st.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So May 31st,
which is great because of the giveaway.
Our giveaway will be that night. But we'll still have our weekly episodes coming out. We've got Just Us Talking coming up, which is a good one. I really enjoyed that episode. We've got some guests lined up here in the next couple weeks, so looking forward to that. Appreciate y'all. Help us continue to grow a culture of anglers helping anglers, one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Yeah. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.